We knew this would happen. We were told by liberals to be more tolerant, that we should make the choice to support transgender bathrooms, but that it wouldn't be rammed down our throats. Well, that's not true. In Iowa, their Civil Rights Commission is now forcing private businesses to allow males or females to use the bathroom of their choice. Otherwise, they face the loss of all government funding. This new rule even applies to churches where transgenderism is counter to their beliefs. Take a look.
I am a trans woman and a parent, but I totally reject this law. It's a law that allows for any man to be able to say he's a woman and access women's spaces.
I have been educated very well of what happens when boundaries cross, the absolute devastation. I wish I didn't. And I wish that we lived in a perfect utopia where you could trust everyone at their word. But we know that we don't live in that world.
At the end of the day, what I really want is for everybody to be safe and everybody to be respected.
Joining me now is managing editor at Red State, Leon Wolf. Leon, good to see you.
Hey Liz, thanks for having me on again.
All right, Leon, this is pretty Orwellian here. Let me give you an example of what would happen under this law as it applies to churches. So hypothetically, if a pastor doesn't want a man in a woman's bathroom, he would have to testify before an extrajudicial tribunal about why he's directly or indirectly making this person feel bad about their gender identity.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the most insidious part of this law, is not just that it makes the requirement about the bathrooms in particular, but that it really mandates what churches can or can't say from their pulpits. They can't even complain about it. I mean, it's one thing to say you have to have these bathrooms. It's another thing to say what you say from the pulpit might place you in jeopardy as well. And it's disturbing because I think for a lot of people, the transgender people are not really the issue. The issue is with these laws is that now a person who's in a position of authority has no real way to say to somebody who isn't really a transgender person, but just wants to creep into a bathroom of the opposite gender and follow someone in there. They have no authority now to say, whoa, stop, you can't come in this bathroom, because otherwise they might face some sort of legal sanction if the person later says, oh, well, I'm transgender, and that's why they were trying to deny me.
Absolutely, and we had a segment on this show. It was probably a month or so ago when this transgender bathroom debate was at its peak, and we had a show where we went through examples from around the country, all within the past year, where men had pretended to be transgender to enter the women's bathroom, and they either sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, flashed, or some other grossly inappropriate action, up into preying on little girls in that bathroom, dressed as transgender people. So I think you're absolutely right. It's not even about the transgender people here. It's about perverts who would pretend to be. But Leon, realistically, this cannot stand up in a court of law. These extrajudicial tribunals, I mean, that's thought police, that's speech police, and it's a violation of religious liberty.
Right. It definitely does seem that, it's placing unconstitutional constraints on the free expression of religion that's guaranteed in the First Amendment. However, what we have seen over the last not just 10, 20 years, but 60, 70 years, is that the First Amendment has been kind of constantly used as a one-way ratchet to say freedom from religion. But the part about the free expression of religion, free exercise of religion, is almost never enforced these days. And that area is growing smaller and smaller and smaller, whereas the area that doesn't even exist, which says freedom from religion, just tends to go bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I would say that under any sort of originalist interpretation of the Constitution and how it was intended, the First Amendment, this law can't stand. But who knows what the courts will do these days?
Right, and that's a good point about freedom from religion, because I think the protection in our Constitution against the state establishing a religion does not entail that the state does not acknowledge a religion, or that they do not allow a religion to be in our public sphere. As a Christian myself, I'm a practicing Catholic. I don't just want to practice my religious beliefs or talk about my religious beliefs in a church. I should be allowed to live my life according to that doctrine, and that includes the public sphere and public places as well, even if it hurts other people's sensibilities or their feelings about it. But I want to stay for a second on this situation in Iowa. There's a lawsuit, I believe, against the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. What are they arguing?
Well, again, there's a number of different issues that have been brought up in the lawsuit, and I believe it's my good friends from the ADF who are prosecuting this lawsuit. But I mean, you do have your free exercise grounds. You do have statutory grounds under the Religious Freedom Act that are brought up. And then there's also, as you've pointed out, there's a due process issue. It's one thing to say, listen, this is what the law is, but it's another thing to say that this issue can't even be challenged in court, that it has to be taken through this administrative process as well for you to defend your right to say something ahead of time. I mean, that brings up prior restraint issues. That brings up a whole host of problems. Apart from just saying, this is prohibited by the Constitution, so there are many different grounds under which this is being challenged.
Right, and I think the administrative state, whether it's agencies at the executive level of our federal government and all their rules and regulations, that's how government becomes bloated. That's how government bureaucrats become unaccountable to the American people, because they're unelected and they make all these rules and regulations, and we have no recourse against them, even if they violate our constitutional rights, which I think is pretty clear is happening right now in Iowa. Leon, I want to switch topics on you for a second, ask you about a situation in New York City. An organization called Bridge for Life. They are a pro-life organization. They give free car seats to mothers around New York City who might be in need, who chose to keep their baby in perhaps a crisis pregnancy. And council members in New York City have pledged to donate, have pledged to give them some tax money to help them with this, because it's such a good cause for the good of the public. Who doesn't want to give car seats to babies? Well, there are some people who don't want to, and that's pro-abortion activists. They're crying foul on this. Leon, I can't even wrap my head around who would want to deny car seats to babies.
Right, and it's an extremely small amount of money that the city of New York was wanting to earmark. I think it's like $5,000. I mean, so an infinitesimal amount of money that's going to this organization that is run, by the way, 100% by volunteers. I mean, all the people who work for there receive $0 for everything that they do. So it's not like this organization is going to take this $5,000 and pad somebody's salary. It goes directly into buying car seats, diapers, things like that for new mothers. And it really goes to why pro-choice is a lie as a description, because they really aren't pro-choice. I mean, I think that anybody who really was pro-choice would be able to say, look, if a mother chooses to keep her baby, then we would be in favor of making sure that that baby has a safe car seat and diapers and food and things of that nature. And we wouldn't mind if this mother was given access, because this is the sticking point. They don't like that this organization, in the process of handing out car seats and diapers, they'll also give you a pamphlet that says, if you're considering an abortion, here's another alternative for you. That's why they hate this organization. Well, if you're pro-choice, why would you be against an informed choice? Why would you be against somebody getting information on both sides of the issue? Not just here's where you can have an abortion, but here are some services that if you don't want to have an abortion, here's where you can go to find help for your baby if you're not going to be able to afford a car seat or food or things like that. So it really gives the lie to that particular description, I think.
Right, you're absolutely right. Pro-abortion activists don't respect any choice unless it's the choice to abort, and they essentially are counter to their very idea. Just like you were saying, they don't want women to have any other choice. I think it's also counter to their argument about women's health. They claim that abortion is about women's health. Well, if they really cared about women's health, they would help buy car seats, or at least support this effort by this organization, this volunteer-run organization, to protect little baby women's health, because car seats certainly do that. Leon, it was so great to talk to you. We are out of time for today, but thanks for being here. After the break, maybe it's a good thing Hillary wasn't indicted. At least the American people can see for ourselves the corruption of the Clinton political machine now. We'll be back in 1 minute.